This is going to be a deep and layered discussion, given that all the succubi involved, Alma Elma, Lilith, Morrigan, Astaroth, Myusca, Mysteltainn, Ogretooth, and Tamamo, each bring their own unique perspective on trust, romance, and relationships. Luka, having revived and recalled all his encounters with them, now sits at a round table discussion where no information is hidden, and each succubus can freely reflect on their experiences, philosophies, and nature. The nature of succubi and their view on romance and trust. Luka, I've experienced your temptations, your affections, and, at times, even your cruelty. Yet, I want to understand, what does romance mean to a succubus? How do you define trust when your very existence is based on seduction and feeding? Alma Elma smirking, lounging lazily on the chair. Luka, you're still so adorably naive. You ask about romance, but isn't romance just another form of desire? We live for passion, for indulgence, while pretend it's anything more. Lilith tilts her head, analyzing Luka's words carefully. Romance and trust. Those are human constructs, aren't they? For a succubus, the act of taking one's essence is the most intimate connection we can have with a partner. To us, it's not about deception or betrayal. It's about unity and pleasure. Morrigan chuckles, brushing a hand along Luka's cheek. Tell me, Luka, when you gave in to us, when you let your body become one with ours, didn't you feel something beyond just lust? A succubus doesn't just consume, we bond. The line between taking and giving is blurrier than you think. Astaroth, serious expression, arms crossed, but we cannot ignore the pain it brings. We exist in a cycle. We take, we drain, and often our partners do not survive. Even if we feel something for them, we are a danger to those we love. How, then, do we navigate romance? Luka, if that's true, then why did some of you go all the way? Why allow me to reach the point where I died if you were capable of restraint? Myusca, soft laughter, almost melancholic, because to us, that is devotion, the ultimate pleasure, the ultimate connection. You call it dying, but isn't that just another word for surrendering completely to passion? If I let you go before that, then am I truly showing my love? Mysteltainn, leaning forward, resting chin on hands. But Luka revived, didn't he? In this grand cycle, does death even matter when rebirth is inevitable? Perhaps to us, death is merely a metaphor, a climax of experience before renewal. Succubi perspectives on human emotions and commitment. Luka, but commitment, can a succubus truly commit to one person? Or is the temptation of new prey too strong? Ogretooth laughs heartily. Oh, you sweet boy. A succubus is free-spirited by nature. We do not chain ourselves to one partner. But that doesn't mean our bonds are meaningless. We remember every lover, every soul that has shared themselves with us. Is that not its own form of devotion? Tamamo, quietly, with a wistful expression, but some of us do long for more, for stability, for connection beyond a fleeting moment. I have seen succubi that yearn for something deeper, though they rarely admit it. Alma, finally speaking, voice thoughtful. If a succubus were to truly love, would she not find a way to restrain herself? Would she not fight her instincts to keep the one she cares for alive? Perhaps trust, then, is measured by the sacrifices we are willing to make. The hero's journey of love and relationships. Luka, hearing all this, I can't help but wonder, could romance between a succubus and a human ever follow a path like a hero's journey? Alma Elma, grinning. Oh, you think love is an adventure, do you? Maybe you're right. There's the initial attraction, our seduction. Then, the test, the struggles of resisting us, of fighting back. But in the end, those who accept us are rewarded with something deeper, aren't they? Lilith, nodding. And like a hero's journey, it is filled with trials, the fear of being consumed, the hesitation to surrender. But those who dare to walk that path may find an ending they never expected. Morrigan, smirking, or they may fall along the way. Some heroes do not survive their journey. Luka, that's the risk of love with a succubus. It's not always a happy ending. Luka, softly, but even if it's doomed to fail, does that make it any less real? Astaroth, thoughtful. Perhaps that is the ultimate question. If love is fleeting, if it is dangerous, if it is impossible to sustain, does it still hold meaning? Tamamo, smiling sadly. Some of us would say yes, because even if it cannot last, even if it ends in pain, the experience itself changes us. Just as a hero is transformed by their journey, so too are we changed by love, however brief. Final thoughts. The succubus love, a curse or a gift? Luka, then tell me, does the succubus regret taking from those who love her? Myusca, closing eyes, voice barely above a whisper only when the one we love does not return. Mysteltainn, soft sigh, we exist as creatures of pleasure, but that does not mean we do not feel loss. There are those we remember forever, and in that remembrance, perhaps, love does endure. Alma, smiling so, Luka, would you walk this journey again, knowing what you now know? Luka, pausing, looking at each of them in turn before finally smiling. I think love, in any form, is worth experiencing. Even if it breaks me, even if I fall, I'd rather know what it means than live in ignorance. Alma Elma, laughing, stretching lazily. Luka, always the foolish hero, but perhaps that's what we love about you. The endless debate, succubi, love, and the nature of desire. The discussion at the table wasn't just a simple exchange. It was a battle of philosophies, experiences, and desires. Luka sat at the center, surrounded by some of the most powerful and enigmatic succubi in existence. Their words carried centuries, if not millennia, of wisdom, and yet each perspective was different. Can a succubus love without devouring? Luka, if love is to cherish someone, to want them to be happy, to protect them, then doesn't a succubus nature contradict love? How can you love something and destroy it at the same time? Alma Elma laughs lightly, propping her chin on her hand. Oh, Luka, you keep trying to define us by human standards. Love, devotion, passion. Why must they all fit into your world's logic? Love, for us, isn't about possession or restraint. It's about expression. And sometimes, that expression is all-consuming. Lilith, leaning forward, voice velvety and measured, but isn't that true for humans as well? People love, and in doing so, they change each other, they hurt each other, they consume each other in different ways. Jealousy, obsession, desire. Human love is not as different from ours as you think. Morrigan, nodding, her smirk more subdued this time. I've seen mortals destroy themselves in the name of love. They fall into despair when abandoned. They sacrifice everything for someone who may never return their feelings. And yet, you call our nature a contradiction. We are honest in our hunger. You humans hide yours behind poetry and promises. Luka, his grip tightening around his sword, his expression conflicted, but love should be about more than just taking. It should be about building something together, something that lasts. Astaroth, crossing her arms, her gaze sharp and unreadable, in one of the lovers who die in battle for their beloved, one of the ones who wither away in grief. Love is not just about building. It is also about loss, about sacrifice. A succubus may take her lover's essence, but does that make the moment any less meaningful? Myusca, softly, the hint of sadness in her voice. Perhaps the real question is a moment of perfect love worth an eternity without it? The hero's journey versus the succubus path. Luka felt the weight of their words pressing down on him. Their perspectives made sense in a way he hadn't considered before. He wasn't just fighting against their nature. He was fighting against the nature of love itself. Luka, the hero's journey is about growth, about overcoming trials, about becoming more than what they were. But if a succubus love is inevitable destruction, then how can there be a happy ending? Tamamo, her fox ears twitching as she finally speaks up, her voice carrying a warmth unlike the others. Not all journeys have happy endings, Luka. Some are tragic, some are bittersweet, but that doesn't make them meaningless. What matters is what you take from them. If you know a love would end in heartbreak, would you still choose to love? Luka, pausing, then whispering, I don't know. Mysteltainn, smiling gently, her eyes filled with an ancient understanding. Then you are still on your journey. Ogretooth, grinning, her wild energy contrasting with the somber mood. All this philosophy. Luka, just admit it, part of you loves the thrill of it. You fight us, you resist, but deep down, you wonder, don't you? What would happen if you just gave in? Luka, his face turning red, gritting his teeth. That's not. Alma Elma, laughing, her wings fluttering lazily. Oh, come on, Luka, the hero and the temptress. It's the oldest story there is. But maybe the real question isn't, can a hero love a succubus? But rather, does the hero truly want to resist? The final question, a curse or a gift? The conversation had taken twists and turns Luka never anticipated. He had come seeking understanding, but now he found himself at crossroads. Luka, then tell me, if a succubus could live without taking, If she could choose to stay with one person without draining them, would she? Or is the hunger too strong? For the first time, there was a long silence. Alma, finally speaking, her voice quiet but resolute. If a succubus could resist, if she could learn to love as humans do, then perhaps she would not be a succubus anymore. Morrigan, nodding slightly, eyes half-lidded as she ponders the thought, and if she ceased to be a succubus, then what would she be? A shadow of herself, a creature longing for what she once was. Luka, looking at each of them, his heart pounding. Then, you're saying love itself would change you. Lilith, smiling, a mysterious glint in her eyes. Perhaps love does not change what we are, Luka. Perhaps it reveals what we could be. A hero's choice. Luka exhaled, feeling the weight of everything they had said. Their words weren't just temptations or rationalizations. They were truths he could not ignore. Love with a succubus was both a gift and a curse. A fleeting moment of rapture, or a dangerous journey with no clear destination. But wasn't that the same for any love? He clenched his fist, standing up from the table. Luka, grinning slightly, his resolve returning. I still don't have all answers, but I think, if love is a journey, then I'd rather walk it, even if I don't know where it leads. Alma Elma, laughing, throwing her arms behind her head. That's what makes you fun, Luka. Always charging ahead, even when you don't know the outcome. Tamamo, smiling warmly. Then perhaps, for now, that is enough. And with that, the discussion ended, not with a conclusion, but with a new beginning. The hero, the succubi, and the endless journey of love, desire, and understanding. The gathering of the succubi, a discussion on love, desire, and the nature of succubi and succubus psyche. Setting the stage. The room was dimly lit, a space neither too lavish nor too austere, perhaps a metaphor in itself, existing between indulgence and restraint, between temptation and reason. The protagonist, a man who had survived and endured the company of countless succubi, found himself at the heart of this gathering. Each of them, some ruling queens, others ancient and wise, all of them powerful, had come not to fight, but to discuss. It was a rare moment, in a world where succubi often took what they desired without hesitation. A conversation on love, trust, and the very nature of their existence was almost paradoxical. And yet, here they were, with no lies to hide behind, no illusions to cloud the truth. The protagonist, whether a warrior, a tactician, or something in between, had grown beyond mere survival. He had touched the hearts of these beings, and in doing so, had changed them just as much as they had changed him. Now, he posed the question that lay at the heart of their very existence. Can a succubus love without taking? Protagonist, you all seduce, consume, and enthrall. It is in your nature, as deeply ingrained as breathing is to a human. But tell me, can a succubus truly love without taking? Can you desire someone and still let them remain themselves? A moment of silence, then a soft, lilting laugh, one filled with both amusement and challenge. Lester, queen of the Crimson Court, leaning forward, her piercing red eyes locked onto him. You ask a dangerous question. Human, love to you is to cherish, to nurture. To us, love is to possess. You say we consume, but do not lovers also hunger for one another? You crave our touch, just as we crave your essence. Why do you pretend your love is so different? Protagonist, his gaze steady, refusing to be swayed by her intoxicating aura, because human love does not always take. It builds, it protects. If you truly loved someone, wouldn't you want them to live? Wouldn't you want them to choose you, not simply fall because they were powerless to resist? Lester's smirk faltered for just a second, an imperceptible hesitation that only someone who had faced her and survived would notice. Noctis, the silent shadow, voice a whisper, yet carrying through the room with a natural weight. A succubus does not merely take, she gives. We grant pleasures beyond mortal comprehension. We offer ecstasy that lingers in the soul long after the body has perished. Is it so wrong to take, if in exchange we give such gifts? Protagonist, a bitter smile forming on his lips. Then tell me, have any of you ever regretted taking someone's life? Have you ever wondered if they could have been more, if they could have lived longer, if they could have loved you back in a way beyond just desire? The room, for the first time, truly fell silent. The perspective of the ancient ones. Azealia, the forgotten empress, her voice like a distant wind, carrying the weight of millennia long ago. I once thought as you do, human. I once loved a man, and I denied myself for him. I starved. I fought my instincts. I sought to become less so that he might love me in return. She closes her eyes, as if remembering a distant past, the time before she became the Empress of the Abyss. And do you know what happened? He died, not by my hands, but by time itself. He withered, aged, and in the end, he begged me to take him, to make him eternal. And when I refused, he passed away with regret in his eyes, knowing that we would never meet again. Azalea's golden irises flicker open, gazing at the protagonist with something resembling pity. So I ask you, human, what is crueler, to take and make them yours forever, or to let them slip away, knowing that all things mortal are destined to be lost? The weight of her words settles over the room like a heavy fire. Even the more playful succubi seemed subdued by the sheer depth of her song, the philosophy of love and hunger. Protagonist, his voice unwavering despite the heavy atmosphere, then is love, to you, nothing but another form of hunger? Is there no meaning beyond pleasure and possession? Avia, the scholar of forbidden desires, adjusting her glasses, her voice measured, as if contemplating the question as an intellectual puzzle rather than an emotional one. Perhaps love is always hunger, no matter the species. But hunger is not necessarily a sin. A starving man who craves food is not evil. He simply needs sustenance. Is it not the same for us? We are not creatures of deception, as some would believe. We do not force. We entice. We allure. You chose to be with us, did you not? The protagonist clenches his fist. Protagonist, did I truly choose? Or was my choice an illusion, orchestrated by your nature? A slow, satisfied chuckle escapes Lester's lips. Lester, and does that matter, truly? You say you were ensnared, or were you not satisfied? Was there not pleasure in surrender? If your heart raced, if your body trembled, if you long for it, then does it not make the experience real? Protagonist, his voice calm, yet resolute. Real, yes. But is it love? Or is it merely the most elaborate form of temptation? The ultimate question, can a succubus change? Finally, the question that had been hovering over the room since the conversation began is spoken. Protagonist, then tell me, if a succubus were to truly fall in love, would she be able to resist? Would she choose not to take, even if it meant starving? Would she give up her nature, for love? A long, slow silence. Some of the succubi exchange glances. Others remain still, as if frozen by the enormity of the question. And then, at last, a quiet voice answers. Azalea, softly, with something fragile and uncertain in her tone, a rarity for one so ancient. If such a thing were possible, if such a love could exist, then I wonder, would we still be succubi, or would we become something new? The protagonist's choice. The conversation has no true ending, no definitive answer. The succubi remain as they are, enigmatic, seductive, dangerous, yet perhaps more complex than even they had realized. And the protagonist, he is left with a choice: to resist, to fight, to try and prove that love is more than hunger, or to accept that perhaps, in the arms of a succubus, love and hunger are one and the same. But either way, the journey is far from over. The gathering of the coven, a philosophical debate on love, desire, and the succubus existence and succubus covenant. The dimly lit chamber pulsed with an unseen energy, a space where desire and power intertwine like two inseparable forces. A table stood at the center, surrounded by figures of ethereal beauty, succubi of unparalleled power, each representing different aspects of temptation, dominance, and the enigmatic depths of the soul. These were not merely seductresses or creatures of mindless hunger. They were rulers of the night, arbiters of pleasure, and manipulators of fate itself. The protagonist, a man who had defied the natural order by standing among them not as prey, but as a participant, now found himself in the heart of a debate that had never before been voiced so openly among their kind. He had survived their world, their trials, their pleasures, and their tests, not just in body, but in will. Now, he demanded answers. The nature of succubi. Can love exist beyond the hunger? Protagonist, his voice firm, though not without curiosity. Your kind is known for taking, for consuming, for bending wills until resistance is nothing but an afterthought. But I have to ask, can a succubus truly love? Can she desire someone without claiming them? Can she see them as something other than prey? A slow, deliberate smirk played on the lips of Selene, the mistress of infinite temptation, a succubus whose allure could unravel even the most disciplined of minds. She leaned forward, her golden eyes gleaming with amusement and challenge. Selene, her voice silky, Yet carrying the weight of ancient knowledge, you assume that love and hunger are separate things, mortal. Tell me, when a human loves, do they not hunger for the presence of their beloved? Do they not crave their touch, their affection, their essence? What we do is merely pure love stripped of its illusions. Why do you insist on separating the two? Protagonist, his gaze unwavering, because love, to me, is more than just taking. It is giving, without expecting something in return. Can a succubus truly give, if her nature is to consume? A sharp laugh echoed through the chamber, this time from Nyx, the abyssal whisper, a succubus whose presence alone could distort reality. She was not one of mere lust, but one of madness, of the dark desires hidden deep within the subconscious. Nyx, grinning, her voice dripping with amusement, and what of your own desires, mortal? Are you not drawn to us? Do you not want to be taken? You speak of love as though it is free of selfishness, but have you not felt the thrill of surrender, the pleasure in giving yourself up? If you truly believed in pure love, you would not have walked into our world. The protagonist clenched his fists. Protagonist, perhaps, but if I had no choice, if my will had already been bound from the moment I met you, then what meaning does it hold? The ancient perspective, the regrets of an eternal existence. A voice, softer yet infinitely more sorrowful, interrupted the conversation. Lilith, the first desire, an entity older than time itself, watched the exchange with something that could almost be called nostalgia. Lilith, her tone distant, as if recalling a long-lost memory. There was a time, long before this age, when I believed as you do, that love should be a choice, not compulsion. That I could remain by mortal's side without taking what was in my nature to claim. Side, a sound that carried the weight of centuries. But mortals are fragile, fleeting things. He aged while I remained unchanged. He loved me, and yet he feared me. He wished for more time, and I could have given it to him, if only I had taken what I hungered for. But I did not, and so he faded, and I remained. Tell me, mortal, if you had the power to keep someone with you forever, to make them yours in every way, would you not take it? The protagonist hesitated. He had seen succubi devour the souls of those who could not resist. He had felt the pull himself, the intoxicating pleasure that made resistance almost pointless. And yet, something in Lilith's voice told him that she did not speak as a predator now, but as something more. Protagonist, softly, would you do it differently, if you could? Lilith's golden eyes darkened. Lilith, a whisper, I do not know. Perhaps I am cursed to never know. The philosophy of control, choice versus submission. The air in the chamber grew thick with contemplation. The succubi were not accustomed to questioning their own nature, yet here they were, engaging in a debate that had never been spoken aloud. Azelia, the scholar of forbidden passions, adjusted her silver-rimmed spectacles, speaking in the measured tone of one who had studied mortals as a scientist might study an intricate puzzle. Azelia, perhaps what you seek is not love, but control. You wish to choose your own fate, even as you stand among beings who defy such limitations. But tell me, if a mortal willingly chooses to belong to a succubus, if they surrender, not out of compulsion, but out of desire, does that not still qualify as love? Depends. Is it love if they never had the full freedom to? Selene laughed again, this time with genuine amusement. Selene, and there it is, the mortal's endless need to believe in free will. Tell me, beloved, is not all love a form of surrender? When a human falls in love, do they not bind themselves to another, giving up the freedom to seek others? Do they not change for the one they love, sacrificing parts of themselves in the process? You fear that our love comes with a price, but does not all love have a cost? The protagonist exhaled slowly. There was no easy answer to this. The final question, can a succubus change? And then he asked the question that none of them had dared consider before. Protagonist, if a succubus truly loved someone, could she change? Could she resist the hunger? Could she learn to love as a mortal does? The silence that followed was profound. Some of the succubi exchanged glances. Others remained motionless, as if the very question itself defied the natural order of their existence. Lilith, the oldest among them, spoke once more. Lilith, softly, uncertainly, if such a thing were possible, then what would we become? If we were to love as mortals do, would we remain succubi, or would we become something else? It was a question without an answer, and yet, deep within his heart, the protagonist wondered, was he willing to risk everything to find out? Would he fight to prove that love could exist beyond hunger? Or would he accept that in the arms of a succubus, love and hunger were one and the same? The choice, as always, remained his. But either way, he knew that this journey was far from over.